Peter, come forward when you're doing all of this because the camera's a little bit beside. There we go. Okay, so Peter's done this millimeter. That goes into the water. Okay, now remember that is the almost gold, silver, copper, nickel, all the platinum, precious metal elements.
Okay.
Platinum,
Just
precious.
a cup.
A capful. It's
Capful,
perfect.
capful.
For 5 liters. Perfect. And then we're going to put a cup of rock dust. So Peter's going to use a big handful because we don't have to, unless he's got a cup there, he's got a cup, perfect.
Okay.
Alright, so we're going to use a cupful of rock dust. About per square meter of compost, you use about a cupful. Similarly, when you're preparing your soil, you use about a cupful per square meter of bed. Okay, so you can see these mega nutrients that are going to be sprinkled over because they're dry. So we're just going to sprinkle them over. And on a windy day, you don't want to breathe too deep. Sometimes you, and the kelp as well. We've had days when it's been flying. Hey, Peter. All right, so that's marvelous. And you can imagine when we now add kelp and probiotics and some water,
Yeah.
this whole thing starts becoming alive. So remember, compost has to be watered. It's like a bed. It's living. That's great. And then we're going to put kelp. We'll put about a third of a cup of kelp. You can put anything. You can put spirulina in here. You know, fresh water, algae, sea kelp. Anything that's going to nourish it. I've got a lemon tree over there that's 25 years old. It's absolutely laden with lemons. Okay, let's sprinkle that on. When I got here, the lemons were yellow, but they had green marks everywhere, and the leaves were really, really yellow and brown and all different colors as well. And within a few seasons, it completely rectified. In fact, a season or two, and each year the lemons get bigger, and each year on the bricks meter, when I measure the nutrient value of the juice, it's higher. So that's an indication. If you took almost yourself, what would happen to you?
Yeah.
The DNA will shift, because we see it happening in the plants. They can't think, they can't say yes, this is going to work, or no, it's not. So they see it working, and they see exactly what's happening. Okay, now Peter's brought out some fulvic acid. Do you know about fulvic acid and humic acid? The humus in the soil is what gives it that nice kind of a glide and a nice kind of a moist feeling.
Silky feeling.
So fulvic acid is a conditioner for the soil. So we're going to put a capful of that in, please.
Sorry, Thomas Linders was the other guy I think I've worked with.
That's right.
Yeah. He's moved after, hasn't he?
I think he comes in and out, you know. Okay, so this is the fulvic acid. Some people also take fulvic acid orally, obviously one that's got a certificate for oral consumption, because what it does is it drives the nutrients to the soil, to the cells, fulvic acid. It also scavenges pathogenic material, heavy metals and things like that. It will do it in the soil. Mainly, it's to condition the soil. And then we've got one last thing that we add, which is the EMs, the universal probiotic. And we're going to put that into the water as well. So we put all the liquids into the water. And we stir it nicely, and then we put it on.
Was this the same one that was developed by the Japanese?
You see, they just trademarked it. It's like, you know, who trademarked our rooibos tea? It doesn't mean that they're the only people. How do you make EMs?
Yeah.
You make it from fermented fruit, leaves, anything that you can find. They go and find the strongest plant, and they use the life force of that strongest plant to ferment this. So it's fermented in a cloud that we're all living in. So the same microorganisms for you and me and the chickens and the dogs and the plants and the earthworms, etc. We're all in that same cloud, and that's the beauty of this microbiome. Nobody sat in a lab and said, so much of this strain, so much of that strain, and we better put in 100,000 million colony forming units, because we hope that once it's come out of the fridge it revives, and that the patient takes it half an hour before they should be eating, and that it's going to have an effect. This has an effect. You don't put it in the fridge. It's live all the time. You would just check with the probiotic that the pH is below 3.7
Yeah.
because the pathogenic bacteria grow above that pH. So if you want to test if it's still okay, you would use your pH meter and you would. All right, so we're ready, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to pour over our mixture. If you were doing it in true biodynamic form, you would do it for 10 minutes. A minute clockwise, change it, create the chaos, get the vortex, get the order happening again, create the chaos, vortex it again. And that's when I said to you the water becomes more soft. Okay. So now we start adding this. Some people like to make the compost in a crate form, you know, where you get the actual crates.
Yeah.
I've done that, Peter, and I've done that. We've experimented with it. What I find with that is that the sides get dry
Yeah, they do.
because
Yeah.
you can't mulch them. With this, you can actually mulch the whole thing and keep all the moisture in. Hey, Peter? Today we're just going to do one layer for you
Yeah.
because this afternoon we're going to do again. But if we wanted you to get the feel of what we're doing so that you will then come, once this layer is finished, put your green, your dry, and the next manure layer. Green, dry, manure, all the way through. As long as you like, but I wouldn't go more than 2 meters wide because it's just dynamics works. Trust the farmers, they've done it.
It's to get oxygen into it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just, the right size. It's a pity that Wendy isn't here because he would have loved this.
Yeah.
But any case, we can do it again. Are you all coming to see? Look at this. We've got a whole audience.
Oh,
Okay, my little babies.
they're so nice and fresh.
So, Jane, if I were to start my own chicken thing, you could
Yes.
supply me with
Yes,
some.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
I want to do mobile. Thomas was showing me how to do those mobile coops for a
Yes,
while as well.
perfect. So you know what that is when you make a kind of a cage
Yeah.
and you move them so that they're constantly getting bugs but they haven't trashed your garden.
Yeah.
So these guys were free. Okay, but I almost had no garden left because they were trashing and pulling up the roots of everything. So I said to Peter, let's make them a really big place at the backyard
Yeah.
so that they can
I will. Hey.
just roam around freely
And then, this is not the only space they have. Do you have?
all along to there.
Okay.
Yes. And then they've got a coop in there where they sleep at night.
Oh.
And they're so cute.
Okay.
At 5:45 every night, they get on the same perch in the same order.
They know
Winter,
their place.
summer, rain, because their feet are on the ground all the time.
Yeah.
They know when it's time to sleep.
Okay.
They don't have melatonin problems. They don't have sleep disorders. Their circadian rhythm is the rhythm of nature, which I'm wanting to, inculcate into this course, that we
Yeah.
do become more in touch with nature because we are disconnected, and that is why we are unhealthy.
I wish you'd told me that at 2:30 this morning.
When you woke up.
No, when I was still awake.
So what happens there is our melatonin and our deep sleep is between 10 and 2.
Yeah.
If you miss that, you also not only miss out on very nerve regeneration, but you also miss out on detox.
Yeah.
So 11 or 3 o'clock in the morning when the liver wakes up, it often wakes us up if it's a toxic liver, it starts dumping toxins and we often wake up. So we just absolutely upset ourselves. Electricity's been the biggest problem, and then the screens that run off the electricity. So
Completely.
when you're on a farm and you've been out and you picked your fruit and you've eaten and everything and the day's done, you sleep. And that's healthy. The weight is right. The cortisol levels are right. Everything is right. So we do take our cues from nature, and these guys are just beautiful. I've never taken one to the vet ever. Next door, they have what they call layers. So once they've matured and they start laying, they lay every day of the rest of their life until they die.
Which
Those-
is 2 or 3 years. isn't it?
Yes.
Quite quick.
And those eggs are never ever fertilized. But they can't be fertilized either because the chicken's been genetically modified. Now you think you're eating an incomplete egg because it's not a natural egg that's been out in the thing. So the pattern of that egg is skewed. It's not the normal pattern that it should be. So our body has to fix it. So these chickens are constantly on antibiotics and outside they're on growth hormones and all the rest of it. But she's constantly going to the vet to look after them because
Yeah.
it's an abnormal situation. When you've got these guys that are getting the food that they're getting from us and freely running around, they're healthy. So again, no, as I say, take your cue from nature. The same would be for cattle. You know, if they're getting the right grasses out there, they're going to produce milk. But what do we want? We want more milk per cow. So we want to,
Yeah.
you know, okay, you're going to get a picture of them.
But Jane, what do you do when you're preparing for bed at 9 o'clock at night and then the lady phones you up and says, I can't understand what this Irishman is saying. Please transcribe for me and check my work. Transcribe for me these 100 pages of what this Irish guy was saying. So you stay from 9 to 2:30.
That's your job.
No, I mean, it's because I have a lot of Irish.
Well,
I can
you must ask yourself whether you're going to answer that phone call in the first place, because I promise you that's not a life or death thing.
No, people rely on you to do stuff. and
But
if
you could do it in the morning.
No, I was coming here and they wanted it for a meeting first thing in the morning.
Okay. Well, that's, you know what, once in a blue moon is not a problem, but when we constantly do this,
Constantly, yeah.
Always. In our business, people always want you to do stuff.
Last minute things.
Once you're a chemical engineer, the guys just, I need to do this, I need to do that, and never leave you alone.
that's where, you know, also personal boundaries
No.
take part. So those are active decisions we have to make for our own health, because they're not going to be around when you're in the hospital. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Of course not, they're going to run.
Yeah. So we've got to set our boundaries and bear in mind, you know, what's going on out there. All right, Peter. So now Peter's getting us a nice stick. Now, assumingly it's up to here, okay, but he was going to put the stick in now.
Yeah.
So you will put your stick in now, and then you carry on building your compost. Okay.
Geba. Now, zoo.
Okay.
Okay.
In 1 week you can come, and it will be steaming hot, because we're going to build it up now. So that we've got a pile for September, October, November, December, January, February. We just keep routinely making it. Once a month you make your pile.
But if you've got a hell of a lot more stuff, say in summer, you can make more piles more quickly. No?
Yes, absolutely. And it never goes to waste, because it's on your veggies, it's on your plants, it's just everywhere. So
And
then,
if it happens, it rains.
no problem, because we are just about to finish there. Now what we would do if it was this high, we've got grass straw, either straw bale or dry grass, and we pack it over,
Oh.
seal it,
To
to cover it, to protect it, because when the wind blows the dry stuff, it's going to blow it up and down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
And when the rain comes also, you don't want the whole thing to get piled, to get washed
Yes,
away,
yeah.
etc. So when you do your final water, and when you do water it, you don't want to water it so that you wash everything away. It mustn't be, water mustn't be
Oh,
running down
okay.
there, okay? So you will find out exactly how much water you need. So that is the composting. What
So that's just a grass. On this side.
It's not compost.
No.
It's just piles
So
there.
people think that their lawnmower clippings are creating compost. They are not. They are only using, well, it will go green to dry. But so when they put that dry stuff on their soil, they're putting only carbon containing compost on there, which is going to draw out of the soil to rebalance itself. So not a good idea at all. Not a good idea.
Yeah, so rain doesn't matter.
Not at all. And you can see already the insects that are here. The birds will be in the trees because they want to come and see what's happening.
The earthworms will migrate.
So what happens is, not yet. When the earthworms are there is when your compost is ready. First of all, it's cool, heats up, and it gets cool again, and all of this is in that book. And then, when it's cooled down for the second time, is when the earthworms start coming.
So do you cover it immediately after you finish?
Yes, immediately. To keep the moisture in, to keep the wind out, and to keep the rain away, basically.
So you build it up in one shot and then cover it.
You must do it in one shot. Not a bit today and a bit tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're going to leave it now because of this afternoon. But basically, any dry mulch, you just bring it on just to enclose it. And this will, if you don't have the insects on the top, first of all, your coal manure wasn't fresh, but secondly, this is dead. You know, it's died. So nice semi-shade, bit of sun, semi-shade is a good place to put it. And then you've got to look after it because it is living.
Lucky to have a dance studio next door too.
It's obviously a young child, yeah.
And how often do you water it?
Weekly. Weekly in
Once a
winter.
week.
If it's summer, it will be twice a week. I just want to see what view we get.